This is Mac OS Ken.
Epic versus Apple enters a new phase. Canalys puts Apple atop the smartphone pile. And more news around Apple Vision Pro. It is Wednesday, the 17th of January, 2024. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Coda, your all-in-one collaborative workspace. Get started for free and get a $1,000 credit at coda.io/macosken. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macosken. Well, that's 3.5 years we'll never get back. A headline from Apple Insider sums it up nicely. Epic versus Apple suit finally ends as Supreme Court refuses to hear both appeals. Or does it end? The two companies have been arguing over the App Store. Lower courts had ruled that Apple did not have to allow sideloading or third-party app stores here in the U.S. They also ruled that Apple did have to allow developers who wanted to do so to let customers know in the App Store and in their own applications that they could pay different prices with different payment systems outside of the App Store. Both companies appealed those rulings. Epic wanted sideloading and third-party app stores to be things, while Apple wanted to stop developers from potentially steering customers away from the App Store. With the declination by the United States Supreme Court to hear either appeal, the lower court rulings stand. Apple does not seem to have commented on the final ruling, though it has already taken action on it. Tuesday afternoon, 9 to 5 Mac ran a report saying Apple has already updated the rules governing the App Store, letting developers let customers know about other ways to sign up and pay. According to the report, Apple is updating its App Store guidelines to allow developers to link to alternative payment methods, providing that the app also offers purchase through Apple's own in-app purchase system. This means that an app can't include links to alternative payment platforms if that app doesn't also use Apple's in-app purchase system. Additionally, Apple will keep collecting commissions on purchases made outside of the App Store. Or it'll try to. 9 to 5 Mac says the commission will be 12% for developers who are a member of the App Store Small Business Program and 27% for other apps. To help ensure collection of Apple's commission, the company says developers are required to provide a periodic accounting of qualifying out-of-app purchases, and Apple has a right to audit developers' accounting to ensure compliance with their commission obligations and to charge interest and offset payments. As both this court and the Ninth Circuit recognized, Apple continues, collecting a commission in this way will impose additional costs on Apple and the developers. You know, it's almost like Apple wants consumers and developers to stay in the App Store. After the court's refusal to hear the appeals and before Apple updated its rules, CEO of Epic Tim Sweeney posted thoughts online. Those included the declaration, "As of today, developers can begin exercising their court-established right to tell U.S. customers about better prices on the web. These awful Apple-maintained confusion screens are over and done forever." It was hard for me to imagine that sentiment would stand, and it did not. About a half an hour after I wrote those words Tuesday evening, Sweeney was back online with a list of things he did not like about Apple's amended rules. It included that 27% online commission. Apple has never done this before, said Sweeney, though that is incorrect. The 9 to 5 Mac piece mentioned earlier points out that a lot of the changes made are similar to the changes Apple previously made specifically for dating applications in the Netherlands. Apple dictates all aspects of these links and doesn't allow them in the app's ordinary payment flow, according to Sweeney. Rather, links must be separated out into a different section of the app, away from places where users actually buy stuff. He indicates that will be too confusing for developers and consumers. And finally, he refers to a screen letting users know that they are going to an external website and letting them know that Apple is not responsible for the privacy or security of purchases made on the web as a scare screen meant to disadvantage developers. In Sweeney's words, Epic will contest Apple's bad faith compliance plan in district court. So I guess that's 3.5 years we'll never get back, and counting. In a similar vein, a number of companies in the European Union are upset that Apple, Amazon, and others are not making the transition to the Digital Markets Act easier for those companies. CNBC says 24 European firms have written an open letter complaining that gatekeepers like the aforementioned, as well as Google, Meta, Microsoft, and ByteDance, haven't done enough to engage effectively with them and others in their industry. According to the report, the signatories said the gatekeepers have either failed to engage in a dialogue with third parties or have presented solutions falling short of compliance with the DMA. They also said that businesses and consumers have been largely kept in the dark about what's going to happen after the 7th of March, a pivotal deadline by which all 6 big tech gatekeepers need to get their businesses into compliance with the Digital Markets Act. They urge the gatekeepers to get on the stick and start talking with business users and other stakeholders such as business and consumer associations about proposed compliance solutions. The letter also says they also urge the European Commission and the European Parliament to use all within their power to ensure that the gatekeepers comply with both the letter and spirit of the DMA, starting from the 7th of March, 2024. IDC is not the only market tracker naming Apple the top smartphone maker in 2023. I told you yesterday of IDC's assertion that Apple had beaten Samsung for smartphones shipped last year. Samsung had held the top spot since 2010, while Apple had never finished first globally for a full year until now. Now, market tracker Canalys says so too. In a press release Tuesday, the firm had Apple beating all comers for the fourth quarter and for the year. For the holiday quarter, the release says Apple led the market with a 24% share of shipments thanks to new iPhone launches. Samsung took second place with 17%. Xiaomi, Transsion, and Vivo rounded out the top 5 last quarter. For the year, Apple just barely beat Samsung, according to Canalys. For the first time, says the firm, Apple pipped Samsung to become the year's top vendor in terms of shipments, though both rounded to 20% shares. Xiaomi finished the year third with a 13% share. Oppo was fourth with a 9% share. Transsion rounded out the top 5 with a share of 8%. Now, it sounds like Canalys senior analyst Toby Zhu would like people to forget what they currently know. While smartphone sales declined 4% last year, sales did see growth in the fourth quarter. Zhu says that was driven by products in the mid to low-end price range. As for the Clash of the Titans, Canalys research manager Amber Liu said, in 2023, Samsung focused on the mid to high-end segment for profitability, but lost share in the low-end segment and also its leading position in the global market. Liu says Apple showed resilience over the past 2 years thanks to solid ongoing demand in the high-end segment. Plenty for Apple and investors to worry about, though. The analyst went on to say Huawei's improving strength and looming local competition in mainland China will challenge Apple to sustain its growth trajectory in mainland China, while high-end replacement demand in other major markets such as North America and Europe is leveling off. Apple must look to new market growth and ecosystem strength to reinvigorate its iPhone business, according to the analyst. Or it could pursue a whole new product category. Just thinking out loud. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Coda, your all-in-one collaborative workspace. I had said earlier this week that I'm working on a solo project. I'll be honest, I've been stuck on it. It involves gathering and organizing lots of sources and laying them out to write from and write on and write with. That project is finally moving, thanks to Coda. My source materials are all in one doc with notes inserted and supporting links. Reminds me of my index card days, but no cards to lose. I'm just getting started on that one, but I'm really looking forward to learning more about how Coda can help me along. Whether you're working by yourself or with a team that needs to communicate about projects and collaborate on documents, roadmaps, and more instantly, you should see what Coda can do for you. If you want a platform that empowers your startup to strategize, plan, and track goals effectively, you can get started with Coda today for free and get a $1,000 credit at coda.io/MacOSCan. That's a special limited time offer for startups, and that means you can begin planning right now at no cost. That's coda.io/MacOSCan to get started for free and get a $1,000 credit. Can't beat that price. I really dig Coda, and I think you will too. Check it out today. coda.io/MacOSCan. We'll spend the rest of the day on Apple Vision Pro, starting with good news for Apple. It's got the green light to sell the headset. 9to5Mac ran a piece Tuesday saying the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, had published filings from Apple and test reports confirming that Vision Pro can be sold in the United States. Boy, wouldn't that have been funny. If you want to peek inside, you'll either have to plunk down 3,500 of your own or be patient. 9to5Mac says many of the documents from the FCC are still labeled as short-term confidential, with more details set to become available on the 14th of July. This includes things like internal photos, setup photos, and more. You know what I just realized? iFixit's going to buy one of these things and break it, aren't they? As far as sales outside the U.S., TF International analyst Ming-Chi thinks Apple should try to make that happen before this year's Worldwide Developers Conference. The analyst took to Medium on Tuesday to lay out his thoughts. His thinking's pretty straightforward, actually. In bullet points, he points out that the company plans to share more development details about Vision OS at WWDC. If Apple can start sales outside the U.S. before that, developers outside the U.S. would likely be more interested in developing for it. So what's the holdup? Well, there are a few holdups, actually, including they don't have that many to sell at this point. They want to iron out the sales process in the U.S., and they'll need to meet regulatory approval in other countries. Not to nitpick, but there's really only one problem with his Medium post. While it outlined some sensible points, he headlined it, Apple is likely to release Vision Pro outside the U.S. market before WWDC 2024. I mean, Apple is likely to want to do that? Could be a long way, though, between what they want to do and what they're able to do. The App Store for Apple Vision Pro is live. Anyway, a piece from MacRumors says it is. That said, unless you're one of the very lucky, very few with a developer unit or a review unit, you'll have to take their word for it. According to the report, consumers don't yet have access to the Vision Pro headset, but reviewers who have the device on hand will be able to try out third-party apps created for the headset. With the App Store live for the device, MacRumors says apps on the iOS App Store will soon list Vision Pro compatibility. That assumes Vision Pro compatibility is left on. The piece reminds readers that developers can choose to opt out of having their apps appear among the headset applications. And finally today, there will be no shortage of things to watch when Apple Vision Pro makes the scene. Another piece from MacRumors had the Cupertino company listing lots of 2D, 3D, and immersive video offerings for day 1, which is actually day 2 of February. Streamers ready to roll include, but are not limited to, Disney+, Discovery+, Amazon Prime Video, Max, Paramount+, Peacock, Pluto TV, Crunchyroll, MLB, PGA Tour, and MLS Season Pass. The more than 150 3D movies available to buy or rent include Avatar, The Way of Water, Dune, Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, and the Super Mario Bros. Movie. The immersive video has been produced especially for Apple Vision Pro by Apple. It includes Alicia Keys' Rehearsal Room, offering an intimate rehearsal session with the Grammy-winning artist, Adventure, which follows athletes doing daring deeds, Wildlife, which sounds like really cool nature documentary stuff, and Prehistoric Planet Immersive, bringing the dino magic from the Jon Favreau-produced Apple TV Plus series, Prehistoric Planet, to the spatial computing world. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by Coda. Get started for free and get a $1,000 credit at coda.io/macOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.